Welcome, everybody, to the Stone Down Sports Podcast. My name is Matt. Really happy to be here with you tonight. We are going to jump into Week 15 fantasy football playoffs, at least for most of you out there, unless you're in a 10 or an 8-team league, then this is the last week of your regular season. Either way, we're going to be diving in, taking a look at a few key games. Before we jump into all of that, I do want to say thank you to all of our subscribers, everybody that comes to hang out with us and chat with us. We really appreciate you, and it's you guys that make this a lot of fun. Also, we are doing a college football bowl pick'em. Details there on the screen. It got to have your picks in by December 16th. We've got the link there in the chat, as well as it'll be in the description for those of you checking things out later. Winner's going to get a $20 Fanatics gift card just as a little prize, and thanks for playing. As always, I'm joined by the Soul Patrol, Kyle and Ramey. Ramey, we've got kind of a stinker of a game tonight, most likely, and we're not really going to get into that. But it's just two pretty not good teams.
Yeah, it's a couple of teams that are going in the wrong direction. Teams that are playing with their backup quarterbacks. Justin Herbert's out for the year. Easton Stick. It's stick time. I don't know, whatever. But it's not going to be a great game. That's two in a row where you've got kind of a couple of matchups that are going to be a bit of a dud. So, but look, you never know what may happen. They may end up being it'll be a close game.
No Keenan Allen either, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
He got ruled out yesterday.
So going to be fun see how they move the ball. I think they'll use Eckler a lot more. After Herbert went out, Stick I wish I could talk today. Eckler got 5 targets from Stick, and he only averaged 5 a game, 4.5 a game this season so far. So
it's probably just a comfort thing.
It is. So I expect to see some more of that again this week or tonight with Keenan Allen out.
Yeah. I think on DraftKings, I got an alert on my phone. It said Austin Eckler anytime touchdown scores like plus 130 or 150. So might want to put a couple dollars on that.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. I think Max Crosby's playing. So I do. The Raiders are favored by 3, and I think they end up winning. So, but it's not going to be a fun game.
I'll still bet on it, though.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Keeps you interested.
Absolutely.
Right. Get some skin in the game.
All right, let's roll into the first game we're going to preview. It is Broncos at Lions. Detroit's favored -4.5 as of 4:00 today on DraftKings. Total is set at 48, and that is the Saturday night evening game, 8:00 game, I believe. I'm not sure NFL Network. I don't.
Yep.
I'll watch it, but I think this is going to be a heavy. Detroit's going to win. Heavy Gibbs, heavy Monty game.
Monty Gibbs.
That's correct. Denver has allowed 162 rushing yards per game on the road, the most in the league this season. Goff needs to just be a game manager, not turn the ball over, hand the ball off to them, get first downs with ARSB, and win this fucking game, because it's going to be tough through the air. I think the Broncos, the path to victory is run the damn ball.
Agree wholeheartedly. This is a bad matchup for Goff. The Broncos defense has 2+ takeaways in 5 of 6 games, and he's had a problem with his ball security lately. They've held quarterbacks under 215 yards passing in 6 of 7 games, and they're coming off a game where they had 6 sacks and 9 QB hits. And we know that Goff has been looking, we'll call it skittish. He's not looked comfortable in the pocket, even when the pocket has been kind of clean. I think there's a good chance that they struggle with that again this week. And you're absolutely right, Kyle. The path to victory lays on the ground. If Monty and Gibbs don't combine for 30 rushes or more, they are doing it completely wrong.
Yeah. I mean, Denver's just sick. Over the past 9 games, they've only allowed a league low 7 passing touchdowns. 7. They haven't allowed a top scorer either, QB1 score since week 6. And that includes Mahomes, Allen, and Stroud. So tough pass defense.
Yeah, and talking about Goff, he's thrown 5 interceptions and lost 3 fumbles over the last 4 games. So he's something's in his head. He's not playing as well as he did earlier in the season, and the Broncos defense is not really, other than on the ground. That Broncos defense is legit. The Broncos have won 6 out of 7 after starting 1-5, and they're only a game behind the Chiefs. So, couple of things to think about, and just I don't want to beat a dead horse, but you guys are absolutely right. They need to run the ball and kind of control the clock and just get out of there with a win, because the Lions, the closing stretch, they're 2 games over Minnesota. And I know you, Kyle, you talked about earlier this season, you want to be at least 3 up, because they play Minnesota 2 out of the last 3 games, sandwiching that Dallas game. So it's a tough stretch here to finish the season.
Yeah, it is. Don't know if I said it earlier. What's up, Dubo? I see you there in the chat. What's going on, Jonas? Glad you're joining us from Germany. If I'm starting anybody, I'm not really excited to start ARSB. He's going to see Surtain when he's on the outside, and he plays on the outside about 45% of the time. He does spend most of the time in his slot. I am excited to fire up Sam LaPorta, though.
Absolutely.
The Broncos give up the second most points to tight ends, and he's played damn well all season. He can be that security blanket for Goff like he's been while they just pound the shit out of the rock. On the other side, I think Russell Wilson is a low-end QB1 this week, and that's reflected there in our weekly rankings. You can find them up on our website. The Lions allow the 4th most points to quarterbacks. They allow the most rushing yards to quarterbacks, 399, and the 3rd most rushing touchdowns. And I get it. A lot of that was Justin Fields, but even if you take away the 164 that he had against them in 2 games this year, they're still mid-pack at best.
Yeah. You pretty much covered everything I was going to say about Wilson before. We've talked about the split with Monty and Jahmyr Gibbs and how that's been breaking down. Since Monty returned in week 10, he has 73 touches for 4 touchdowns. Gibbs has 69 touches with 4 touchdowns. So it's the fucking same. So They both have 6 touches and goal to goal over that same span. I said it when we started talking about this game. This is a Monty and Gibbs game. Feed the hell out of them. Yeah. And Denver's just a league high 5.5 yards per carry to running backs. They just allowed 125 and a touch to the Chargers on Sunday. I don't know. How do you feel about Javonte Williams this week versus the Lions?
I think he's a decent volume play. He's right around 58% of the touches the last 4 weeks. He's pretty much taken over that backfield, with the remaining roughly 40% going to P. Ryan and that other little dickhead that was decent for a couple weeks this year.
McLaughlin.
There you go. I think Courtland Sutton is he's a mid-wide receiver too this week. I think he's got some nice upside, though. The Lions allow the 3rd most points per game to wide receivers at a little over 15. And while Russ does spread the ball around a lot, I think he connected with like 10 receivers last week. You can tell that the chemistry is there between Russ and Courtland Sutton, and that's who he looks to. While he's not getting those games with 10, 11, 12, 14 targets, he's making the most out of the targets that he gets, and he finds the end zone, which is what you want.
Yeah, he only averaging 6 points. Sorry, Ramy, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, you took the words out of my mouth. He scored 10 touchdowns this year. And 8 of those were coming in the red zone. So when they get down there close to the goal line, Russ does start to look for Sutton a little bit more.
Yeah, I expect a big game from him. He hasn't hit 100 yards yet this season.
Me too.
He hasn't hit 100 yards this season. I think this is the game where it could very well happen. Over the past 7 games, Detroit is allowing 160 receiving yards per game to wideouts, 21st in the league. Giving up 13.8 yards per reception, 25th in the league, and 9 touchdowns, 29th in the league. So 100 yards and a touchdown, I see Sutton achieving that. Good news came out of Detroit today. CJ has been medically cleared to return. He's been out since week 2, I think.
Yeah.
So they could activate his 21-day practice window possibly next week, they said. So
Nice.
hopefully be here for the last couple games in the playoffs. So I know we don't talk too much defensive players, but I'm very excited about that.
Be nice to get Houston back too.
Yes, it would. Anybody got more Broncos, Lions?
It's pretty high over under for the games this week. Do you guys think it goes over, or do you think Detroit tries to kind of, like I said, control the clock and shorten the game by running the hell out of the ball this week?
Yeah, I'll say under.
Yeah.
Oh, Detroit puts up points at home though, man. They score. And it's not like when they run the ball, they're just plodding down the field. I mean, Gibbs and Monty can both take it to the house.
Yeah.
They break off chunk plays.
Yeah.
This is going to be, if the trends continue, turnovers are not going to be good. Detroit has turned the ball over on 20.5 of their possessions over the past 4 games. That's 31st in the league.
Yikes.
Denver has forced a turnover in a league high 20% of opponent possessions over their past 8 games. So it must be ball security. Must be. Especially with, Matt predicting 30 carries, plenty of opportunities for them to knock the ball out, ball to slip out, whatever. But
yeah, but a lot of those turnover issues has been Goff, right?
Yes.
So by running the ball, you hopefully are less concerned about turning that ball over.
Yeah, I think. I mean, if we can keep Goff to around 30 to 33 attempts. That means we're keeping the ball on the ground, and you've got some good balance there. There's been some offensive line injuries for sure, and that's going to affect your run blocking. But the scheme itself is so good, and just the multiple formations and everything that they can do, I think they can still be effective.
Got a question in the chat.
I saw that.
Oops.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
You're good.
Devontae Adams is active. Do you guys like him tonight over Nico or Rashee Rice? Currently have Rice in. I just looked at the inactives. I'm still looking to see who is starting at quarterback for the Raiders. Are they going to start AOC in a short leash? I've heard rumors of Jimmy G coming back. Yeah, that's what I need to know, and I haven't seen anything yet, and I'm on 3 different websites trying to frantically look. I think his value goes up. I think Devontae Adams' volume value goes up with Jimmy G back over AOC.
And Josh Jacobs is out too.
Yep.
So in week 1 last year, Devontae Adams against the Chargers went 10 for 141 and a touchdown. Last year in week 13, he went 8 for 177 and 2 touchdowns. And then when he played them earlier this season, he went 8 for 75. I'm putting Devontae Adams in.
Don't matter which quarterback.
No, I mean, he did it last year. Who the hell did he do it with last year? Derek Carr. Derek Carr is ass.
He's better than Aiden O'Connell, though.
Exactly, he is.
Yeah, but I mean, we're splitting hairs there. I mean, dude, Derek Carr is not good. He is not a good quarterback. He's a good enough quarterback to find Devontae Adams, and I think Aiden O'Connell is like the next tier below that. We're still talking about 2 dudes who are shitty and are like bottom 3rd QBs.
I don't think Derek Carr's I don't think Derek Carr's good.
Matt's got a personal bias against
I do not like Derek Carr.
He hates him.
I don't think Derek Carr is demonstrably better than Jimmy Garoppolo.
I would agree with that, but Jimmy Garoppolo may not be playing.
Yeah. I don't know. He's got Nico in the question as well. He's got a calf strain.
Yeah.
Same issue.
I'm staying away from Nico.
Yeah.
Even if he plays, just
no. Don't go. I would also go with Adams, even though Rashee Rice has just been looking very good lately.
You know what? Why don't I just pull up our rankings for week 15?
Pull them up.
So, and this is the Stone Down Sports Podcast consensus rankings. We have
These
Devontae
rankings-
Adams.
These rankings are also on the website, stonedownsportspodcast.com. They're every Thursday, so you guys can check them out.
Devontae Adams, 18. Rashee Rice, 21.
Yeah.
Nico Collins is not a consideration.
I think it's Adams just because the Chargers defense is trash, and the Chiefs are going to New England, and while New England's not that good, their defense is still pretty good. I think this week you'd start Adams over Rice, regardless of who the quarterback is.
The past few weeks, New England's pass defense has been damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dubo. Start Adams tonight. I concur. Definitely. Great question.
All right. Man. We know what the Lions need to do to win. What's next?
Steelers-Colts. Ramey?
Steelers-Colts, both 7-6 teams, both in the playoff hunt. Both are in the playoffs today if they were to end. If the season ended today, not if the playoffs ended. So this will be a big game for tiebreaker purposes because there is a ton of teams at 7-6 right now, and that looks to be kind of a continuing trend as we go towards the end of the season. So Colts are at home. Colts are a 1.5 point favorite. I'm worried about this game. Both teams playing with backup quarterbacks. The Steelers are coming off to back-to-back losses. They're the first NFL team with a winning record to lose back-to-back games against teams that were at least 8 games under 500. So they've had a couple crappers, and nothing better than going on the road and kind of getting your mind right against a subpar, but still in the playoff hunt Colts team. The Colts have lost 8 straight to the Steelers. Most recently last year, they played at the end of November. And then this is crazy. When I was looking this up, Indy hasn't won a postseason game since 2018. Pittsburgh hasn't won a postseason game since 2016, which is wild. Considering their history and everything, but they're an average team over the last 6-7 years. But I think that they travel well, and the Colts with Gardner Minshew, I've talked about it before. He holds the ball way too long. Jonathan Taylor's still out, so it'll be Zack Moss, but he hasn't looked like he did at the beginning of the season over the last couple of games. And I know we talked about his usage, and maybe he just needs a little bit more rhythm or repetition to get into rhythm. But Pittman's going to have a Pittman game, but I don't see much coming from Gardner Minshew and everyone else. Braden Smith, the right tackle, is out as well. So I just feel like with TJ Watt coming back, they're going to kind of feast. And I think this is going to be a low scoring game. And I'm really worried about this game.
It makes sense. I think Pittman is still a low-end wide receiver 1. He's going to see a lot of Joey Porter Jr. when he plays out on the perimeter, which is about 70% of the time. And the Steelers have been elite against perimeter receivers and just wide receivers overall over the past month. I'm not expecting much out of Minshew, and it makes me happy that Kyle picked him up to start him. Zack Moss is likely going to get the bulk of the work again. I think he's a mid-range running back too with upside if he can find the end zone. Steelers are bottom 3rd team against running backs, and in a similar vein to the game we just got done talking about, I think the Colts have a viable path to victory, but that path is going to lay on the ground.
Definitely.
Yeah. And for whatever reason, Gardner Minshew's been throwing the hell out of the ball lately. This is a game where you talked about Goff, 30 to 33 attempts. If the Colts are going to win, I think Minshew's probably in that 25 to 28 attempt range. Like, you really want to limit his attempts. Just he's being exposed as the season has gone on. And I mean, he's a good backup quarterback and he's good in spot starts, but to rely on him during a playoff stretch, he's just, I don't know if he's getting a little bit skittish, kind of like Goff, where he's just holding on the ball way too long. But I think you're right, Matt. They're going to have to lean on Zack Moss, and to a lesser extent, I think Trey Sermon's back. He had a couple carries against Cincinnati when they were out of it. But I would lean on the run and run the hell out of the ball.
Pittsburgh running backs have got a good matchup too against the Colts.
Yep.
Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. The Colts give up the fourth most points to running backs. Both of them are low end running back to high end flex plays. They've got an interesting split. Najee is out carrying Warren by about 2-1. Warren's getting more targets. Between the two of them, they average around 6 to 8 a game, with maybe 3 of those going to Najee Harris. Wide receivers, I'm fine with Diontae Johnson. He gets he's getting the most targets on the team. He's got 7+ in 3 or 4 games. Pickens is more of a touchdown dependent desperation flex wide receiver 3. This has been a disappointing year for him overall. He's not scored a touchdown since week 8. He's only had 6 or more targets twice in that span since week 8. He's only got 1 wide receiver 1 finish this season, and it was all the way back in week 5.
Yeah, I got him as a floor-based wide receiver 3 with some matchup appeal, I guess. Since Diontae Johnson comes back, he's 17 more targets than Pickens. He's matched or out-targeted Pickens in 7 straight games. Johnson's got the team high 31% of the team targets against cover 3. So,
yep.
So Jonas going to cover the spread big time. I really don't know how the Steelers can be any close to the playoffs. Got some wins and some tie breaks for sure.
Yeah, they're doing it with smoke mirrors and defense.
Yeah, because they've only gone over 20 points once in their last 7 games.
Yeah.
So the over under on this is 42. I think I'd take the under on this game.
I lean that way too. I may go with like an alt total and move it up to like 45 or something like that and go under that.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yep. I was talking about Downs. He's been kind of down, since their bye, maybe a little bit before that actually, but it's a nice matchup here. Steelers are allowing 10 yards per target to slot receivers. That's 31st in the league. But goes to Juju, just caught 3 for 73 against them as well out of the slot. So maybe Downs is I think he's a thin flex play this week, but it all depends on Minshew as well, unfortunately. Yeah. Supersonics in the house. Jesus. In the house. What's up?
What's going on, brother?
Sway's channel. What's up, players? What up, Kip? I love how you guys all talk to one another in the chat.
I like how you lean forward to get a better look at that little picture there too on your computer.
Anyway. All right. Steelers-Colts. We're done with that. Moving along.
Well, I got one more thing.
Okay. Raymond's got one more thing.
If the Colts win, they have a really good chance of making the playoffs. They only go on the road one more time this year. They go to Atlanta next week, and then they finish the season at home against the Raiders and Texans. So this is a big game, even though it's 2 not so great. I don't know that it's going to be a great game. It's a big game, though. So here's hoping.
The Colts need to figure something out on 3rd down. They've been horrible since they're
they have.
A league low 22.2%, 8 out of 36.
Yeah.
So if they can't fix that against the Steelers with a low score, they're going to be fucked.
They just need to be better on they need to be better on 1st and 2nd down. They've got so many damn 3rd and longs that it's killing them. So, Captain Obvious over here.
All right, Captain Obvious. Vikings 7-6. This is a game that I picked to talk about.
Way to go.
And another Saturday game.
Yep. Bengals also 7-6. Bengals as a 4:00 or -3. Total set at 40.5. Yeah, another Saturday game. I don't know. This is the first one. I think Colts is the 4:00 and then Lions are the 8:00, I believe. But
prime time, baby.
Prime time. Dang it. Sorry. I lost my notes. Jesus. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm lost.
So Jake Browning has been fantastic in his 2 games. He's come in for Joe Burrow.
Now.
Well, go ahead.
You can keep going. I I had a computer issue. You're good.
He threw for 354 yards and a touchdown, ran for another touchdown against the Jags. Last week, he threw for 275 and 2 touchdowns, and again had a rushing touchdown against the Colts. So he's a viable fantasy option. I've got him on my team. Not that matters, as I'm sitting outside the playoffs looking up at everybody.
I mean, back-to-back top 5 scoring weeks against the Jags and the Colts.
Yeah.
Among quarterbacks with 100 dropbacks. Brock Purdy, average depth of targets 9.9. Browning's at 9.1. So
pretty good.
The Bengals have done a pretty good job getting the ball out of his hands damn quick. Almost a third of his passes have been at or behind the line of scrimmage over that same span. So he's somebody you could start if you're fucking desperate, I guess. But this will be his toughest test so far. Minnesota's 4th in the league in passing of points allowed per attempt at 0.345. That's sick. No quarterback has finished inside of the top 10 against Minnesota since week 3. A group that includes Mahomes, Fields twice, and Brock Purdy. So it's going to be tough. And they blitz the hell out of the Vikings. They are a blitzing team. 45.8% of dropbacks. They're in your fucking face. So Browning's inexperienced. He could be on his butt a lot running for his life.
Do you think that they'll dial that back a little bit because Browning has been focusing so much on the short passes and getting the ball out quick?
I think Brian Flores can't help himself, and they can't get pressure without blitzing.
Yeah.
But he's doing something right because Brian Flores' defense has allowed 1 touchdown in the last 12 quarters.
Yeah.
So it's a strong defense.
Yeah, they won 3-0 last week. It was the first 3-0 win since Pittsburgh beat Miami on my birthday in 2007.
Nice. The lowest scoring indoor game ever.
Yeah.
Dubo, let's go Vikings. Yeah.
Yep, I picked this game for you, Dubo.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it.
Partially it.
And then we got Jonas. What do you think about Ty Chandler?
Madison being out. I think he's viable. He looked good in the limited role that he had coming in for Madison last week. I tried to pick him up, but somebody beat me to it. So if I had Madison, I would definitely look at starting him.
I know they lost right tackle during the game, and I know their right guard was out too. So I don't know.
Brian O'Neill, he's out.
Is he? And then Ed Ingram didn't start last week too, so I don't know if Dubo might actually know more of that than me. But the Bengals are a defense you've kind of targeted most of the season, for rushing production. But the last 2 weeks, they held Jacksonville and Indianapolis 32 rush for 90 yards. That's 2.8 a carry the past 2 games. So maybe they figured some stuff out. I don't like anybody in the backfield for Minnesota this week.
Yeah, he's a running back 3 flex play. Another, I don't necessarily know if it's a desperation play because he is going to get some volume, but you're really hoping for a touchdown with him. I know people were pointing to that game he had a few weeks back where he had like 73 yards rushing, but they forget that 40 of that came on a fake punt. So,
yeah,
I get the Bengals have been tough the past couple of weeks against the run, but still on the season, they're giving up 4.7 a carry, which is a big number. And the Colts have struggled to run the ball lately anyways.
Yeah.
Yep. So, if you have to start him, I wish you the best of luck. Do I want to start him?
Thank you.
No.
In a stat that means absolutely nothing, the Vikings are 7-1 on Saturday, going back 29 years.
Nice.
Dang.
Yeah.
I like Hawkinson this game if they get him the fucking ball. Bengals have kind of had their hands full with tight ends this season. Opponents have targeted their tight ends 26% of the time versus the Bengals, 3rd in the league. Cincinnati allows a league high 6.8 receptions to tight ends, an 80% catch rate, which is league high, 8.5 yards per target, 31st, and a 5.5% touchdown rate to the position. That's 19th in the league. So if Mullens can get him the ball, look for Hawkinson. A decent game. We're hitting the button at the same time. Dubo says O-line is shook up, but decent backups. Ty is good for our run game, not necessarily fantasy.
That's an important distinction.
It is. Yep. Absolutely.
See, that's why I like having a nice mix of folks and fans in here. You get that perspective of people who follow, the Vikings, for example, a hell of a lot closer than we do.
Yep. Looks like Jefferson's going to play. It says he expects his typical workload on Saturday, so that'll be nice. Avoided serious injury because you thought, we went to the hospital. I'm like, oh shit, collapse of lung or something. But
just a bruise.
So definitely a viable option or volatile option this week with Mullens. So see what happens.
Well, Mullens started 8 games in 2020. He had 35 attempts per game. He had 5 games over 250 yards. He did okay enough in a very unconventional season. But I mean, you've got Jefferson, you've got Jordan Addison, you've got Hawkinson. Just distribute the ball. just distribute it. Just be Rajon Rondo. Playoff Rondo.
That's no shit. Not regular season Rondo. Cool. Done with this one. Anybody got anything? 31.
Nope. Since in the Super Bowl era, only 6 teams in a non-strike season had 4 different winning quarterbacks. If Mullens wins this week, the Vikings will join a group that includes the Browns this year.
Nice.
So of the 6, 2 of them, or of 7, 2 of them could possibly have happened this year.
Dang.
Look at you dropping that nugget, right?
Yeah. Dubo, crazy stat. Mullens is 3rd in NFL history for passing yards at first 15 starts. Wow. Did not know.
I love those cherry pick stats like that.
And they trusted him so much they traded for the Pasternaut.
Right.
The Pasternaut's gone.
God, I hate that name. It's so
he
stupid.
He left the building. So
he's
all right. Gone. Cowboys 10-3 at Bills.
I gotta turn the page.
Buffalo favored -2. Totals at 50.5. The Cowboys are just rolling. They average a league high 3.31 points per drive over their past 8 games. They outscore opponents by 133 points in the first half, largest margin in the league. They've outscored their opponents by 188 points in all the games. God, they convert almost 50% of their third downs. Of course, Buffalo's second in the league, converting 48% of their third downs. But
you sound like you're in love.
This is going to be a fun game. I'm definitely taking the over for sure. Dak's on fire. He's been hot. Multiple touchdown passes in 7 straight games. If he does that this weekend, it'll set a new franchise record. Buffalo has allowed multiple passing touchdowns 5 of the past 8 games. I'm excited to watch this game.
America's game of the week.
Sure it is.
With America's team.
Yeah. And if the Cowboys win, they'll have won 5 straight and they'll clinch their 3rd straight playoff berth. They can win or tie and get into the playoffs.
The Lions win and get a couple other teams to lose. They're in too. They can conceivably clinch this weekend.
We already talked about the Lions. Talking about the Cowboys now.
Whatever, dude. Stop pissing in my Cheerios.
Oh, Jesus. Bills have an interesting defense. They've kind of turned some things around. They've gotten better. They're 9th in the league in pressure rate, 41%. But that's where Prescott's kind of thrived. Under pressure, league high, 63.9% of his passes for a league high, almost 8.5 yards per attempt. That's sick. The league rate under pressure this season on average is 49% completion and 6.1 yards per attempt. So you can just see he's leaps and bounds above that. And then on the other side of the court, you got Josh Allen this week. Just killing it. Looking awesome. He's rushed for a touchdown in 8 of his past 10 games as well. Again, I'm looking forward to this game. It's going to be a good one.
I want to see something out of Stefon Diggs over the past month.
Sure.
He's turned 35 targets into 17 grabs for 159 and 1 touchdown. He's the wide receiver 34 over that span, averaging 10.8 points per game, which is, just to give you a little frame of reference, that's just slightly better than Wan'Dale fucking Robinson. Who's that? Exactly.
Yeah, all right.
You know, he's going to see a lot of Stephon Gilmore, Jordan Lewis, the Cowboys. They're the most frequent defense in the league. That just incredibly stupidly. Cowboys play man 65% of the time, which is near the top of the league. I think it's going to be a fun matchup. I'm going to be over as well too.
Yeah, Diggs does need to step up. He was white hot to start the season and then sucked. There's been only one receiver that Dallas is allowed to be a wide receiver one score, and that was Keenan Allen. So,
Cowboys are the 4th team in the Super Bowl era to win at least 8 games by 20 points. And Kyle, you mentioned that they lead the NFL in scoring, but they also are tied for the fewest giveaways. They've only turned the ball over 11 times. So
imagine what happens when you take care of the goddamn ball.
Yeah, no doubt. Yep. James Cook, though, since we've talked about this before, but since Ken Dorsey got let go, he's been really good. He had 83 yards receiving last week, and he's topped 100 yards from scrimmage in 4 straight games. So look for him to continue to be used. But yeah, that Diggs thing makes you wonder if something's going on there where him and Allen are clearly not on the same page, but I know he was a little disgruntled and had some issues before the season started where he left training camp, and coach said it wasn't an issue, and then he came back and the coach said it was no longer an issue. So I don't know, but it's just weird how it kind of flipped a switch where he was really being targeted by Josh Allen, and just lately he's not been able to do much of anything.
He is an interesting matchup this week, right? You've got a Cowboys defense that gives up the 4th fewest points to running backs on the season and the 4th fewest receiving yards to running backs, which is where he does a lot of his damage. But at the same time, this defense that's been so good has given up over 100 yards rushing in 4 of the past 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's going to come down to a question of, are the Bills and James Cook going to be able to take advantage of what to me seems like a pretty clear trend here of a decline in the play of the Cowboys defense, specifically on the ground? Or are the Cowboys going to get their shit right and force Buffalo to become a one-dimensional team and rely on their secondary?
I mean, Dallas hasn't allowed a running back to rush for 70 yards in a game since week 3. So they've allowed 2 RB1 scoring weeks all season, the last week coming in week 5. So they're bottling up running backs pretty much all year, at least the last couple months.
Yeah. And Dallas coming off that big win in Philly, they're due for kind of a clunker. So while I do think that I like the over in this game too, I wouldn't be shocked if they go up to Buffalo and lose.
Yeah. Jonas has got a question in the chat here. Would you rather start Waddle or Diggs? So you got the Jets, Dolphins and Jets, and then Jesus.
I think I'd go Diggs. I don't love either matchup though.
What's our rankings say, Matt?
Our rankings say Stefon Diggs is at 9, just because while he hasn't produced like you would like, the man still got 35 targets over the past 4 weeks.
Right.
You know, he's getting that volume, and we got Waddle at 23. So there's a pretty big disparity there. I'm going to go with Diggs. I'm going to go with the game. And this is something that people lose sight of when they're looking at their matchups and planning out their lineup for the week. You're not only looking at the individual or positional matchups. Is this team good against running backs? Are they bad against running backs? This is fantasy football. Which game is going to score more points?
Mm-hmm.
And that Bills-Cowboys game is going to have more points scored than the Dolphins against the Jets. And that's where I want to invest.
Yeah, I would definitely expect more punts to occur in Dolphins-Jets than than Bills Cowboys for sure. So very good point. Very good point, Matt. Supersonic says sway bizzle my nizzle. All right.
I think that's the most awkward thing I have ever heard you say.
Yeah.
That was killer execution.
Yes, it was. That's the white guy in me.
Do you usually
any more
have
Bills?
Black guy in you?
Any more Bill? Any more Cowboys Bills, gentlemen?
Oh,
Yeah,
CeeDee Lamb, start him. That's what my notes say.
yeah.
Dude,
This is
Teron Johnson has played pretty damn well this year. That is going to be a fun matchup to watch there in the slot.
Yeah, that's true.
I think he's like the 20th rated cornerback on PFF. He's fantastic on a per snap basis. Just take my word for it because I didn't actually write down the numbers. You know, sometimes you just get a summary.
I got Lamb averaging a league high 67 yards per game from the slot. He's got 6 receiving touchdowns from the slot this season. It'd be good. Do you know the only slot receiver behind touchdowns and Lamb this year so far? Just happened to catch a touchdown from the slot against Buffalo on Sunday. It's Rashee Rice, folks. Rashee Rice.
Awesome.
Got some comments.
Kadarius Toney.
Now that was funny. Yeah, the way I said that. Hold on, let me check out that chick's ass again. All right. I'm an ass man. Bubble butts are my weakness.
He likes the butt and the gut.
Yeah. All right. Let's move to Sunday night football here. Ravens headed down to Florida to Jacksonville, 8-5. Got the line Baltimore -3.5. Total set at 42.5. Yeah, I could see this going under, but I could see it going over just as easily. Jeez. The Ravens, they don't ever play from behind. They've trailed a league low 15% of their offensive snaps. They're the only remaining team in the league that has yet to run a play trailing by double digits on the season. So the key here for Jacksonville is to somehow get ahead early.
Yeah.
And try and hold on to that motherfucker. Because Jacksonville is not used to playing that way.
Yeah, and Jacksonville, you've got a pass funnel defense there. I think it's a plus matchup for Lamar. The Jags are, bottom 3 against QBs, middle of the pack, rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks. I really like OBJ this week. He's been incredibly efficient this year, 28% target per route run. He's averaging 0.49 fantasy points per route run. He's going to match up against Tyson Campbell quite a bit, who's allowing 0.54 fantasy points per route run. And just to give you a frame of reference, 0.2 is considered average.
Yeah. Since week 9, only Tyreek Hill has more yards per route run, 3.97, than Beckham at 3.57. So he's been looking pretty good. They've been putting him in nice situations. He's not out there every play. He's, around 55-60% of snaps, but he's been effective the last couple of weeks.
You know who is out there all the damn time? Zay Flowers. I think he's going to be able to exploit those corners on the outside. The Jags play zone 67% of the time. He's the kind of receiver that can go find those holes in the zone, especially deep on the outside, past the cornerback and before the safeties. And I think both he and OBJ could be in for pretty decent days.
Especially since Mandrews, after they lost him, the 2 games, Flowers has seen 26.7 and 25% team targets come his way. So I like him this week a lot too, because Jacksonville's at the bottom of, yards or targets to wide receivers.
I think Isaiah Likely's a start this week too, based on how Jacksonville looked against David Njoku last week. He had 2 touchdowns, and Likely and Njoku have similar games. So if you picked up Isaiah Likely when Mandrews went down, I think this week is the week to start him.
Yeah, he had a decent week last week too. He had that. I mean, he had a long touchdown. It was a broken play, but that shit still counts.
Yeah.
I'm starting him in a league, and funnily enough, Kyle and I are facing each other in the first round of the playoffs in the same league where we faced off in the championship last year. So I'm running Isaiah Likely out there, and I picked him up last week, and I dropped him, and I picked up Juwan Johnson and started him. And this is a trap a lot of people fall into. Look, eventually you're going to come down to a choice. You want to be the smartest dude in the room, or do you want to win?
Yep.
And last week I was the smartest dude in the room, and I was a dipshit, and I lost. And I backed into the playoffs.
You tinkered poorly. Is what you did. My only complaint with Likely is he could use some more downfield work. He's only averaging 4.3 air yards per target, but I do love him as an upside tight end one. And Jacksonville's not so great against tight end, so it's a good spot for him.
How does his air yardage compare to Mandrews?
I don't have that. So
Lamar has 2,934 passing yards. His career high is 3,127 when he won the MVP in 2019. So with 4 games left, he might be pushing 4,000.
Yeah,
never know. It's possible.
I mean, it's a good week to do it. Jacksonville's allowed 20 fantasy points to 4 of the 5 quarterbacks they've faced in the last 5 weeks. This includes front end weeks to Brock Purdy, CJ Stroud, Jake Browning, and Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
So start Lamar with confidence.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Start Evan Ingram too. You probably are if you have him, but he's had 20 grabs for 177 yards and 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games for Jacksonville. So they're finally finding him in the end zone. And with Kirk being out, he seems to be the go-to guy for Trevor Lawrence. So Evan Ingram, Kyle is again finally vindicated.
Yep, starting him. And in the same league that Matt was talking about a moment ago, Ingram has at least 7 targets in 11 of his past 12 games. He's second in the NFL in tight ends and routes run, 3rd in targets, 2nd in receptions, and 5th in receiving yards. He's still having a fine season. It's been pretty quiet, mostly until recently. But geez, he's with touchdowns, he can compete at the front end of the position.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, Ravens have a tough schedule coming up too. They play Jacksonville and then they go against San Francisco and Miami. So
we were just mentioning Likely. Dubo's got him over McBride this week. Yeah, I agree. I think I like him over. Who do the Cardinals play? I guess
San Francisco.
Definitely.
I'm going to buck the trend. I'm taking Trey McBride. I mean, ever since he really took over that starting role, he's been a top 5 option regardless of opponent. I see no reason that doesn't continue this week. Don't get me wrong. I am 1,000,000% not saying that, Arizona is going to hang with San Francisco. I'm saying garbage time is a thing. I'm saying Kyler Murray likes to throw the ball. I'm saying when he scrambles and rolls out, he looks for Trey McBride quite a bit. He gets a high number of targets. I think he's going to see more targets than Isaiah Likely. And fuck it.
Likely's been running routes, Matt. He's ran a route on 83% and almost 91% the last 2 games.
You ain't talking me out of this shit. I'm saying fine. McBride.
You go with McBride.
You present your case. I already presented mine, and I am close-minded now.
I've already presented it 5 minutes ago. I like Likely Dubo. Good luck. We'll see what you go with. Report to us next week and let us know. You can let us know Sunday morning for Tinker Time. Well, no.
They won't have played yet.
Yeah, all the teams won't have played. Fucking Saturday games are cool, though. I like them.
They are.
Yeah. Let's get into any more of that. We can get into
how do you think Zay Jones is going to do this week? He had a 31% target share last week, his most since week 12 of last year. I don't think he's I don't know. He's not in my top 36 this week.
What needs to happen, it all hinges on if Trevor Lawrence is throwing. He was very inaccurate last week. Ridley, he was 30% of his targets were inaccurate. Zay Jones, 35.7% of his targets were inaccurate. With that high ankle sprain, he sailed some passes. That tends to happen to quarterbacks. I mentioned the other day. I like it, but it all depends on Trevor Lawrence.
I'm not happy about ETN either. That's a damn tough matchup for him. The Ravens have only given up 3 rushing touchdowns this year, and we've talked ad nauseum about his touchdown dependency.
Oh yeah,
it's
he doesn't have a top 20 scoring week without a touchdown.
Nope.
So he needs it. But
do we have another game to talk about?
Nope. We're going to.
I wrote this shit down in the wrong order.
We're moving on to Aces and Deuces. Any of you gentlemen like to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
Let's see. Where's that shit at?
It's somewhere.
Yeah, it's under the brand tab. All right. Yep. My first ace is LA Rams running back Kyren Williams. He's got a great matchup at home. And just like we were talking a bit earlier, this is a game with the total at around 50. You want to be invested in those games. You want the points, not just a favorable matchup. My second ace, and it's kind of painful to say this because number one, I don't fucking like this dude.
Derek Carr.
He's going against my squad. No, I'm talking about Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson. Look, all the signs point to him having a great matchup against a Lions pass defense that allows the 4th most points to QBs, the 6th most touchdowns. And our pass rush has been ass as of late, which means he's going to get time.
Nice.
Wait, Ramey?
Yeah. My first ace is Falcons running back Bijan Robinson, who we've talked about quite a bit this year in the fact that Arthur Smith seems to be reluctant to use him. But over the last 4 games, he's got 396 yards from scrimmage and 4 touchdowns. And in the first matchup against Carolina, he totaled 63 yards from scrimmage and a touchdown. So I look for that to be a continuing trend. And for that reason, he's my first ace. So Bijan, pull through for me. My second one, I'm sorry, guys, is Broncos wide receiver Courtland Sutton. The Lions pass defense is just wretched. And I think we talked about earlier, Courtland Sutton has 10 touchdowns this year, 8 in the red zone. I think that's going to continue. I think Russ Wilson is going to look for him. It's going to be a high scoring game if the Broncos air the ball out. I think they're going to. So
you getting it, Matt?
I'm trying to get this knife that Ramey just shoved in my back.
Oh, okay. I thought he was he was wiping or something.
I thought he shit his pants.
Yeah, you wipe side to side, dumbass.
You just picked Russell Wilson. So, I mean,
that don't matter. I can pick against my team. When other people do it, that's some bullshit.
Yeah.
No, I think he'll have a fine game. Yesterday, Ramey, I think, described the pass defense for the Lions as struggling. Now you said wretched. I replied that they're on fucking life support.
Yeah.
The CJGJ news would be great here in a few weeks if he comes back.
Courtland Sutton had 14 career touchdown catches coming into this year, and he's got 10 this year.
Yeah.
How many does that make total?
24.
Nice.
Love it. My first ace is Rams wide receiver Puka Nacua. I think Kupp's a fine start as well this week, either one of them, but I like Puka a little bit more. He's a must start against the Commanders. They've allowed the most yards, 2nd most touchdowns, and 2nd most fantasy points per game to wide receivers this season. Nakua's pace, 17-game pace, is 107 for 1455. Ja'Marr Chase's rookie season a few years ago, 81 for 1455. So we'll see if he can beat that. Justin Jefferson's rookie season in the 16 games, he was 88 for 1,400 yards. So, see.
It's a lot of yards.
Just some extra shit. We talked about OBJ. Good. I have him as an ace this week. I think you should start him. Just against the Jags, we just mentioned. 2nd most yards, 4th most touchdowns to receivers the Jags have allowed since week 10. It could be a high-scoring game. I think he's a very strong streaming option this week. I'm going to use him in a league because I got some people hurt, unfortunately.
Solid logic.
You want me to just roll in the deuce, or would you like to go? I don't care.
Have at it.
Okay. My deuce is
We'll do
first
a
one is
snake.
Jared Goff. I can, again, like Matt said, I can pick my my team that I love. I can pick against them. I think they're going to take the ball out of his hands a lot more. He's still going to have some play action passes downfield and things like that. But Broncos have been pretty stingy against QBs since week 5, a stretch that includes games of Josh Allen, Stroud, Love, and Mahomes. No QB has scored 18 or more points from them. So fade on him this week. My second deuce is Kenneth Walker III. Philly's D ranks in the top 5 in rushing yards and TDs allowed to running backs. I think this could be a negative game script for Seattle. I don't think while he is playing, he's still not 100% from his injury. I'm fading Kenneth Walker. That whole backfield, really. Charbonnet as well.
Yep.
Who would like
Nice.
to go
I'll
next?
go. We'll just snake our way back up to Matt.
Snake our way back. All right. I
Yeah.
like it.
So continuing a trend, my first deuce is Colts quarterback Gardner Minshew. Talked about this earlier. Holds the ball way too long. Pittsburgh's defense is pretty good, especially with TJ Watt being cleared to play. Just getting exposed as the season goes along. I don't think this is going to be a high scoring game. I don't think Gardner Minshew is going to have a very good game. So if you've got him, fade him. Sorry, Kyle.
No worries, Matt.
Okay.
Or
Nope.
you have a
I got
second
one more.
There you go.
Yeah.
My second deuce is Cardinals running back James Conner. San Francisco, again, sorry, Kyle, is now number 1 against the rush defensively, and they are the number 1 scoring defense. So Connor's having a pretty good year. It's his best season since 2018, and he kind of has an outside shot of reaching 1,000 yards for the first time in his career, but it won't happen this week. It's just a real tough go against the San Francisco defense. So James Conner, not this week.
I can dig it, dude. My morning deuce, Travis Etienne. We've talked about him being touchdown dependent. The Ravens allow, the 5th fewest points to running backs. They're 4th in yards per carry allowed at 3.7 yards. They are a awful matchup for somebody who is so touchdown dependent. My second deuce, and we kind of talked about this earlier via question, is Tua. And I'm not going to even bother with his last name. He's the only person any of us know of who is named Tua. He's only had about 10 points last time they played the Jets, who allow the 2nd fewest points to quarterbacks, the 2nd fewest yards, and the 2nd fewest touchdowns.
Nice.
You're not going to bench him, but you're downgrading expectations this week.
Downgrade away. All right. Now it is time for our locks of the week. We'll each pick a bet we like. I noticed nobody did a prop bet this week. Matt did one last week, and it backfired in his fucking face. You guys want to snake back around? If Matt,
That was aggressive.
Matt could get Matt, snake back around. Give us your Matt lock.
All right. My lock of the week, I am taking the Brownies -3 against the Bears. That Browns defense is legit. They are 7-5-1 against the spread this season, which on the surface doesn't sound great, but they're actually, in the top 3rd of the NFL. I'm not a big Justin Fields guy. Ohio State quarterbacks never do shit. CJ Stroud is the exception. I look, you give me any reason to shit on Justin Fields, and I'm gonna, because fuck Ohio State. Go Blue. We're in the playoffs, baby. We're taking this fucking natty, and the Browns are gonna cover.
Nice. Oh, I'll go. My lock is Jets +9.5 against the Dolphins. This was 8.5, but a couple of hours ago it actually jumped up a point. Jets defense is legit. They made the Texans look terrible last week, and I was just getting ready to click it. Zach Wilson showed signs of life too in the second half against the Texans, and the Dolphins defense just isn't that great, especially in the last 3 minutes against the Titans on Monday night. So I don't think the Dolphins lose this game, but 9.5 is a big number, and the way the Jets defense plays, I think it'll be a relatively close game. I think they'll get that number.
Yeah, you had to burn the sheets after that bed shitting that they did.
Yeah.
That was bad. My lock of the week is I flip-flopped the
You sure did.
well, I had the day off today and I medicated myself this afternoon and did some stuff, and this is what I fucked up. So flip-flop the logos there. Fucking, and the one previous there, who was it? Had like another helmet in there that wasn't supposed to be there. So fucking Christ. Anyway, mine is Commanders at Rams -6.5. Rams have been a good team as of late. They rattled off 3 straight before they lost to overtime in Baltimore last week. Stafford's thrown for more than 800 yards, 10 touchdowns, and just 1 pick in the last 3 games. Kyron Williams is racking up over 100 yards, over 110 rushing yards in 3 of the last 4 outings. And Washington's just looking like ass. They're riding a 4-game losing streak. They haven't scored 20 points in 3 straight games. And the Rams have covered the spread. I dug deep for this one. Have covered the spread in 9 of their last contests in December. So,
Nice. I wish you luck.
thank you. We'll see what happens.
We will see.
I'm right out and ass for season record. We are going to see what happens.
We are gonna see what happens. Yeah. Another reminder about our bowl pick'em. It's on ESPN. I will put the link. The link's in the comments of the chat here, but I'll put it in there again in just one moment. You got to pick that before 11 a.m. on Saturday because the contest will lock. Just 1 entry per user. No purchase necessary. Winner gets a $20 fanatics.com gift card. Just a little something to sweeten the pot there. Yeah. Anything else, gentlemen? Justin Fields, you want to bash on him? I think they'll definitely. What is his value trade-wise? 2nd round pick and a 5th round pick. Some conditional picks or something. If something becomes a first, if he performance-wise, like, what do you guys think?
Who would?
I mean, honestly, if they,
who would trade for him? A lot of people, I think.
Oh yeah, Atlanta would love to have him. I mean, he's a young quarterback still on his rookie contract. Salary aside, the dude has a lot of physical talent.
He has.
I think somebody give up if they could get him this year, I think somebody would give up a 1 for him.
I think the Bears would be smart to get rid of him. Get the 5th
and start over.
Pick. A lot more options when you got a rookie QB contract.
Playoffs.
And you haven't offered him his extension or his 5th-year option yet. Like, I don't think you're keeping him. And doesn't Ryan Poles probably want to pick his own fucking guy? If you're going to get fired, wouldn't you rather die by picking your own guy instead of, because that was the previous regime.
His ass may not make it till the draft.
He might not. But, I mean, it wasn't even his guy. Fields was picked before Ryan Poles got there the year before.
He'll be talking shit on him on TV with Mel Kiper Jr.
Yeah. Cool. I don't have anything else. You guys? Make sure you guys remember there's Saturday games, folks. 3 of them. So make sure
you didn't have anything else.
Make sure you get your lineups in. Don't forget, don't get caught with your pants down in the playoffs and make a mistake like that could cost you a win. So definitely get your lineups set.
Yep. And we'll see you at 11:30 for Tinker Time on Sunday morning. And as always, we'll be here at 7:00 next Tuesday and Thursday night to kind of talk about the games and preview next week's games. So good luck to everybody in the fantasy playoffs that are in them. And we will talk to you on Sunday morning.
For shizzle.
Good night, folks. See you Sunday morning.